keeping God's command, keeping God's command. Midweek meditation, and get complete understanding, complete understanding on keeping God's command, keeping God's command. And get complete understanding, complete understanding on keeping God's command, keeping God's command. Midweek
Shalom, shalom, everybody. I pray each and every one of y'all are doing well today. I pray that you are not sitting next to a tree that's decorated with silver and gold, Jeremiah 10. I pray that, you're not falling for these pagan worship days, but nonetheless, it's time for midweek meditations. It's still Wednesday, regardless of what other things people may think it is. It's still 5:30 Central, regardless of where you are in the rest of the world. It's still 5:30 Central. So midweek meditations is here. The topic of today's lesson, or the topic of today's meditation, is don't be lazy. And I gotta admit, the spirit of slothfulness had got on me a little bit this week, man. I found myself in the midst of many naps. I found myself in the midst of not getting up to do the things that I know I needed to do. Now, I know you can relate to me. Sometimes we get tired. Sometimes we need a little break. Sometimes we're worn out. But we got to make sure that we recognize that spirit when we see it and get ourselves out of it. So that's what I've been meditating on, is don't be lazy. Because if we get ourselves in the wrong mindset, if we get too comfortable, if we forget what God has instructed us to do in terms of our output and efficiency and the work that must be done, if we forget those things, you can kiss the kingdom goodbye. And midweek meditations, we're trying to get ourselves right. We're trying to meditate on things that can actually change our life today. Not deep, high things that are so wonderful but yet have no impact on your life, but things that actually are going to make you a better person. And by the time you get to the Holy Convocation this Sabbath, you should have changed something about yourself. That's what midweek meditations is all about. Now, I want to shout out to a couple people. Amita, Avia, Hadessa, Yakin, different people who have been helping me stay on top of my game with the midweek meditations, because without them, maybe my laziness would have took over and we wouldn't have this thing. We wouldn't have today's meditation right now. But because of people like that who have really been influential in helping me, the rest of you get some benefit, and we're here right now at Midweek Meditations. So don't be lazy is the topic. Now, I know you sluggards, that's another term for being lazy. I know you were being lazy and you didn't do the Bible trivia this week. So you need to go to midweekmeditations.com right now and check out the latest Bible trivia. I'm going to give you a few moments to do that. I know that because you were being lazy, that share button is just very hard to press right now. It's very difficult to get to it because the slothfulness that is oozing out of your fingertips cannot reach the button. But because the topic is don't be lazy, I know that each and every one of you are about to hit the share button. We got somebody in the chat right now asking, what religion is this? Well, contrary to whatever belief someone may have about the Bible, we're not talking about religion here. We're talking about the history, the nationality, the customs of a people known as the Israelites, God's chosen people. And we're just bringing things to life on what this people has to do to get their rightful place back on earth. Now, you ask the question, what religion is this? The thing about religion, from my perspective, what I find is that's just a way of controlling people, and every nationality of people, every different group of people will create a different religion for their own benefit, to uplift their own beliefs, their own ideals. But yet God has given the Israelites and the chosen lineage of people that he has set forth laws, statutes, commandments, customs, a heritage. And that's different than religion. And so what we're going to be talking about today is things that the Israelites are supposed to be doing, that just morals and customs and understanding that should be passed down generation to generation, just like your grandmother taught you how to cook a certain dish. Just like the different things that have been passed down negative in our life, or maybe not so much negative, but just not as beneficial as what God has passed down for us. So that's what we're talking about. So Born Ready, I appreciate you for asking that question. I appreciate you for getting on that trivia. And for each and every one of you other ones that have not pressed that share button yet, I knew you was lazy. All right. In addition to that, we had the daily verses and we had the blog. And I just had to put it out there. I had to confess, man, I'm feeling a little lazy. So I had to motivate myself. That's why it's called Motivation Monday. I had to motivate myself to get up and get going and get to doing the things that I need to do to make sure that I make my calling and election sure. All right, so let's get started. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about a couple of things. Let's go first and foremost to Colossians chapter 3 and verse 23. Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. It says, and whatsoever you do, do it heartily, as to the Lord and not unto men. Now, when you understand the context of this verse, it's talking about a couple of different things here. It's talking about being obedient to a master. It's talking about in the aspect of servants being obedient to your master. But when people read that, they read it out of context, and they thinking, especially the oppressor who used the Bible in a religious fashion to keep a people down, they use this scripture in verse 22, servants obey in all things your masters. They use that to oppress us and keep us in slavery. But when you really understand what servants is referring to and what masters is referring to, it's talking about fearing the Most High God and understanding that he is in rulership and in power over you. And in a intelligent sense, it's wise to be fearful of the Lord. So now when we get to 23 and it says, and whatsoever you do, do it heartily, it's telling you what spirit to be in when you make action out of fear of the Lord. Fear of the Lord. When the Lord tell you to do something, you're like, okay, it's God, I'm going to do it, but I ain't going to be happy about it. So you do it with a certain spirit that ain't as energetic, ain't as enthusiastic. It's not as give me another word, fervent and zealous as it should be. But it says, and whatsoever you do, do it heartily. Do it with the right type of energy. Do it with the right type of zeal. Do it with the right type of spirit, as to the Lord and not unto men. So what that's going into is, even though there may be a man that's putting something in place for you to do, if you're understanding who put that man in that position to be over you, you won't give that energy that you give a man, but you would give that energy that you would give the Lord, as if you saw him face to face and a direct order was given. See, the thing about salvation and repentance is people think that they only have to get right once they get in front of Christ. but yet they can be whatever they want to be up until that time. Well, for you who have played sports, there's a thing called you practice. You practice. You play how you practice, right? So when it's game time, if you practice well, you'll play well in the game. But if it's game time and you didn't go to practice and you pull the Allen Iverson, practice? You're talking about practice. If you pull that, then when it's game time, even though you got the skill that got you somewhere, you wonder why you're not getting the championship because you didn't put it in practice. So when we get before the Lord, we have to have practiced the right type of spirit in the things that we do. So it says, do it heartily. Meaning, you got to have some energy behind it. Not no sluggish, slow movement and lack of energy and lack of passion. But no, you got all of that behind it. So whatever we're doing, and we're going to keep that in the context of today's topic of don't be lazy, whatever you're doing, do it with that type of energy. Do it with what they say, keep that same energy when you do this, this, and that. Well, keep that same energy that you had for the club when you was in wickedness. Keep that same energy that you had for being an adulterer. Keep that same energy that you had for meeting up with the weed man. Keep that same energy that you had when you was making sure that you were able to get gifts for this holiday. Keep that energy when you do things for the Lord. Matter of fact, exceed that energy. So whatsoever you do, right? It says, verse 24, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Christ. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done, and there is no respect of persons. So when we put all this together, what we're going to understand is that there's a wrong way and a right way to do things. It's not just a wrong and a right thing to do, it's also a wrong way to do. So now it says, we're going to go to verse Proverbs 18 and 9. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 9. It says, he also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. Oh my, that's how you feel, Lord? I'm the brother to the great waster when I'm slothful? So let's slow it down. He also that is slothful in his work. He's working, but there's a way that he's going about the work. It's not that he's doing absolutely nothing. It's that the thing that he is doing, he ain't putting that energy into it. He's not doing it heartily as if the Lord asked him to do it. Because, for some people, being respected as persons as they are, they jump when a certain person said, but they don't jump when another person said. For you parents who have to tell your kids multiple times, and let's say for you mothers, you tell your child to go clean up, you tell your child to go to bed or whatever, and they don't listen, and then you have to look at your husband and say, can you please tell them? And then the husband gives that authoritative commandment to go do what you're supposed to do, and now the child running. That's called respect of a person, right? That's what that is. But now you see that you got the pop that you needed because the man of the house came in and laid it down with all authority. That's why the husband is synonymous to Christ in the home. Because that's the same mindset that Israel has toward other people and thinking that they can slothfully respond to them, but then they're going to pop when Christ said. No. So let's see. It says, he also that is slothful in his work, meaning the work that he do, slow, no energy, no zeal, not really caring about the outcome of how it's getting done and when it gets done. That's the brother of him that is a great waster. Now, I don't want to be called a great waster, nor do I want to be the relative of the great waster. The great waster, let's just say we don't go any deeper into what that really means. Let's say that not relating to anyone in particular. Just use the word great and waster. Now, waste is already a bad word, but now you've increased the meaning of the word waste by putting great in front of it. Like, it don't get much more wastier than that. You like the new word that I made, wastier? It don't get no more wasteful than that. It's pretty bad. So a slothful person is pretty bad too. Now notice it says he also. So we're gonna go up and add to it and get some more comparison to it. It says, when we read in Proverbs, we see a lot about wisdom. And if we start at verse 1 here, we're going to learn a little bit about wisdom. It says, through desire, a man having separated himself seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. A fool have no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. A fool. See, we recently talked about don't be foolish, remember? And that was a pretty good topic for people to understand, because we are foolish people. We are a foolish nation. And yet anything that relates to foolishness, we are on top of. But anything that relates to wisdom, we're not doing it. So that's why it says a fool have no delight in understanding. The type of people we are, we don't even want to understand. But that's why it's good that you guys are here, because evidently you want understanding. That's why it's great that some of you are asking questions, because you want understanding. And that's why it's great that you hit that share button, because other people want understanding too. So take a second, hit the share button, and I'm going to make sure I remind y'all, MidweekMeditations.com has everything you need to catch up with previous things that you might have missed. For example, I just made mention of the previous meditation. What was it called? Don't Be Foolish. You can find that at MidweekMeditations.com. You can find the Bible trivia at MidweekMeditations.com. You can donate to help further this ministry at MidweekMeditations.com. So now that all of you sluggards have now become zealous individuals, and you're not slothful because you hit the share button, let's read on. It says, a fool have no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. When the wicked cometh, then cometh also contempt. And with what's that word? Ignominy, reproach. See, I gotta look that up. See, these are words that if you're not reading the Bible often, you might not know what they mean. You know, I've heard that people who read the Bible score higher on the SAT. So this word, from the breakdown that this Bible dictionary gives, it says shame, confusion, dishonor, reproach. It's from another word that means disgrace, confusion, and dishonor. So it says, when the wicked cometh, then cometh also contempt. And with that, we have the synonymous word of shame, confusion, dishonor, reproach. It says, the words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. It is not good to accept persons of the wicked, to overthrow the righteous in judgment. So far, as we're reading down in Proverbs, we're talking about wicked people. We're talking about people who don't want any knowledge, and because of that, that's why they're wicked. It says in verse 6, a fool's lips enter into contention. We're talking about a fool. And his mouth calleth for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction. So this person that we're reading about 1 through 6 so far, now we're in 7, is a person who's in the midst of destruction. And his lips are the snare of his soul. He didn't talked his way into foolish ways and got himself in trouble. He wrote a check with his mouth that his behind cannot cash. Verse 7, a fool's mouth in his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his souls. The words of a talebearer are his wounds, and they go down in the innermost parts of the belly. He also, see, we read all of this just to get back to this verse right here. He also. So the same person we've been talking about this whole time, the wicked, the unwise, the fool, he also that is slothful in his work. This same person, or this similar person, has the similar attributes and qualities of who we've been reading about since verse 1. He also that is slothful in his work is a brother to him that is a great waster. So the slothful person is just as bad and just as similar as the great waster and all the other people that were being described in the first 9 verses. So when we ask ourselves about being slothful, because maybe somebody don't know what being slothful means. Well, I wish I was putting pictures up on the screen, because I would put up a sloth in full speed and show you how much work he's getting done. And in full speed, he's moving very slow. Everybody knows what a sloth is. I'm sure you do. If you don't, just Google it. You have the power of the internet at your hands. If you're moving around like that, you're the same as a great waster. You're the brother of the great waster. Now, for you women, for you men, each of you know that you have your moments in life where you're moving like that. You know, I'm sure there's some brothers on here with wives, and for some reason, you know, when they ask their wife to get something done, it's a 2-week process. Why are the clothes that you washed 2 weeks ago still not folded and put away? Why is the bathroom still not clean? Why are you late when I said be ready at this time? That's because they got that slothful spirit. That's because they're moving like a sloth. That's because they don't see you, or they're not making action as if you were the Lord. Now, but I'm sure you've noticed, when they got to go to work, they on time. When there's someone else telling them what to do. And you know this from the past, like that maybe they was in the military. Maybe they had this pretty nice job in the world, you know, in the past before they met you or something. And they were on fire for it, but now that they meet you, moving like a sloth. Maybe that's that. We got company coming over. Now I'm going to get the house in order. But I live here every day. But you got the slothful spirit on getting the house in order when I'm here. For you brothers, don't think you left out. You slothful too. Oh, how long has it been since you got that oil change? Haven't done it. That inspection sticker? Haven't done it. Taking out the trash? Haven't done it. And these are light things, right? These are just things to keep the household running. How long is it? Oh, you still haven't gotten your education. You haven't, because a lot of people have so much ability to move forward in life, but because of slothfulness, they're still where they've always been. You were 20 in the same position that you are now, that you're 30. 10 years have gone by, and because of your slothful pace, the world moves faster than you do. But what do the scriptures say? Let's get some more. Let's get to Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 4. Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 4. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, and the hand of the diligent maketh rich. So you are in a situation right now where you have a chance to become poor or rich. Should the Lord bless it, right? One of the number one, probably the number one reason why some of us have not made it to a better financial status is because we are dealing with a slack hand. And you had all the opportunity to do well, and over time, instead of progressing, you digress. And to the point in which you're actually doing worse than you were ever doing before. The scripture says, he becometh poor. Meaning, you might have not been poor. You might have started out all right. But you are going down in this downward trajectory when you deal with the slack hand. Slack, slothful, sluggard, lazy, all synonymous words. It says, he becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. That diligent is the one that's doing things heartily as unto the Lord. So let's go back to that as unto the Lord real quick in Colossians 3 and 23. It says, whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men. See, I know some of y'all, because you're so prideful, that you don't want to go to somebody's job and be employee of the month. You don't want to excel in someone's job because you got this separatist mindset. And I get it. I would like to have my own as well. But while whatever you're doing, whatever you're touching, you should be doing the best at. There should be, considering that we're above all nations, we're the greatest nation that ever walked the face of this earth, the Israelites I'm referring to. But considering that, everything we touch should be gold. We should be great at everything we do. If we're just janitors, we should be the best janitor in the building. Whatsoever you do, is that not part of the whatsoever? So, if you're a janitor, you're the trash man, but you do it in a fashion that is very slack, then that's how you're going to become as poor. You're not going to, while minimum wage is, let's just say, what has been wage? $7, $9, I don't know. Not enough to live, clearly. If that's what you're getting, and you spending 10 years at this job, and inflation is going up at a higher rate than minimum wage is, that's an easy way to understand that you're going to become poor by dealing with a slack hand. Because rent's going up. Gas is going up. I just got a letter, the toll price is going up, the annual increase. I'm like, oh my gosh. Can we vote the tolls off of the road? Can we do that? No, we can't? Okay. Everything's going up except your salary. That's an easy way to see how you being slothful and slack makes you poor. Now, going back to where we were in Proverbs 10 again, verse 4, it says, he becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. So the diligent person is making stuff happen. Okay, you may have a minimum wage job, but you working extra hours. You're doing things on the side. You're getting educated so that you can get a better job. Or you're working on your side hustle so that you can turn it into the main hustle. You're doing things diligently because you're trying to change the outcome of your financial future, right? That person is going to make himself rich. Like, riches don't just fall out the sky. I know some of you played a lotto and some of you might have won, but for the most part, anybody who has anything, it took effort, it took work. And even for the person who won the lotto, you had to play. You had to go make action and receive it, because I've heard about people who win the lotto and never go pick up the money. Shame on them. I wouldn't miss it. Because once I get it, then I'm going to figure out how to flip it. Because that was another thing that I was noticing. People who have money, it's easier for them to keep making more money. You're able to make moves that your $7 an hour worker don't think he can make. He can make them. He just don't have that mind yet. Don't have the opportunity yet. But put yourself in a position to take advantage of an opportunity, and you'll make yourself rich. It says, verse 5, he that gathereth in he that gathereth in the summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in the harvest is a son that causeth shame. So think about this analogy here. For most of us that are watching, that are tuned in, you probably went to school in America. You probably went to school by the semester schedule, and you had 2 semesters in a year, and in the summer you had a break. And in the summer, you took off and did nothing. Matter of fact, you went brain dead over the summer because you absolutely used no intelligence throughout the summer. You watched TV and slept in and ate candy. That's about all you did. But the Bible is saying that's not the way to go. He that gathereth in the summer is a wise son. So then you have some of you other people, and I've been in both categories, so I'm talking about myself on both sides. Because there were times where I didn't do anything for the summer, and I was feeling like I might have lost all my intelligence. I was like, I haven't exercised this brain all summer. I'm not sure if I can continue living my life like this. So then I started to challenge myself for the summers. I made sure I had something to do. So then you have those who do summer classes, do summer camps. You know, maybe are fortunate enough to be able to travel and go learn something about a different location. Putting yourself to work during the summer, that's a wise son. But he that sleepeth in the harvest is a son that causeth shame. If you're just going to waste all this time and all this opportunity that you have in front of you, because a lot of people, you know, since it's midweek meditations, let's talk about it. The goal is to encourage you to read your Bible more, to read for yourself, to meditate daily in the scriptures. But a lot of us, the only time we get into the scriptures is when someone is reading them to us on the Sabbath, or for those of you who have not come to the knowledge and understanding that Sunday is not really supposed to be the day of worship in the church, you waited until you went to the Christian service. You know, for some of you, maybe just waiting on Easter and Christmas and New Year's for your church service, you know. And that's the only time that you can put effort into building yourself up scripturally. But if you're a wise son, you're going to keep gathering in the time of the summer, which is making reference to your free time. Making reference to the time that you have on your hands to do something positive with. But you know what we use it for? Video games, TV, napping, scrolling through Facebook for hours. Looking for foolishness by that, because I'm sure on your timeline now you're seeing a fight, some twerking. You skipping over midweek meditations. You're not hitting the share button for midweek meditations. But for some reason, some foolishness has gone viral. And that's why I say, but he that sleepeth in the harvest is a son that causes shame. Because the things that people do that are lazy versus the things that people do that are diligent, those things will be considered shameful. It says, verse 6, blessings are upon the head of the just. You want the blessings, you got to get up and be that wise son, because the just man is going to be a wise man. It says, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. Now, I just made a statement. Let me find a precept real quick. See, now it's a fly in the room, and they want to play with me in the middle of the broadcast. What was the thought? Opportunity, leisure. Sirach chapter 38, verse 24. Sirach chapter 38 and verse 24. All right, it says, the wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure, and he that have little business shall become wise. So when you got the free time, don't just waste it on the couch. Don't just waste it on Facebook, Instagram. Don't just throw away the opportunity that God gave you to increase yourself. Take it. Use it. The wisdom of a learned man. See, you can learn so many different things. You know, one of the things that I've taught on in the past is the Bible being multidisciplinary, and the understanding that everything you do, if you do it heartily as unto the Lord, has scriptural implications to it. So the new thing that you learn in real estate, in carpentry, in videography, in a language, all of those things actually are positive when it comes to the Bible. Now, if you can find a way to make sure that you correlate them and don't forget about the Bible, now you're working with something. Because in me learning these different skills, that puts me in a position to be ready for nation building. But if I only learn the skills to help build up another man's kingdom, and I'm just an employee and I'm just going to work and I'm trusting in the oppression, then it was not really worth your time. But if you're that brother or you're that sister that is thinking, and you're studying these scriptures and you see how, wait a minute, we're supposed to rule the world. Wait a minute. the nations are supposed to look at us as the wisest nation on this earth. Wait a minute. We actually are not the bottom of the totem pole, even in captivity throughout all of these passages. But for some reason in this one, we're the bottom. When you'll begin to use this wisdom that you have for the right reasons. So now you're learning the scriptures, you're learning trades, you're learning skills, you're putting it all together, and you're wise. And it only happened because you took the free time that you had within your day. See, some of y'all right now watching Netflix, and you just got this on the side, but your real show is on TV. But there's do others, and I know most of you fall into this category. You're using this opportunity right here to meditate with me. You're putting this in your arsenal, and you're going to be ready to make changes in your life as soon as this broadcast is over. That's how most of us are. I know, right? That's what we're dealing with today, right? It says the wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure. And he that have little business shall become wise. How can he get wisdom that holdeth the plow? And that glorieth in the goad, that driveth oxen, and is occupied in their labors, and whose talketh of bullocks. Now it's going to show you that even though you're doing work, if you're not doing it in the right spirit, then you wasting your time and you're not actually getting the wisdom. This is leisure opportunity. And see, for many of us, we understand, hey, we better learn to multitask. That's why many of us will be working and have midweek meditations playing in their earbuds. Because they're trying to get the best of both worlds. I'm going to occupy the plow, but I'm going to get a little wisdom so that now I can put the two together and it be more powerful and impactful. Because if it's talking about a person having an opportunity of leisure and it's still talking about them working at the same time, that's getting you to understand that laziness, that slothfulness, it doesn't just come with sitting down. It also comes with just not using your resources to the fullest potential. Not using your opportunities to the maximum potential that you have. For me, I have an opportunity in many cases to read more, study more, to learn more. But I find myself having to remind myself that I'm having that opportunity because I get comfortable and I just don't want to do anything. Or I'm just focused on what I am doing at that moment and I don't think about how, let me make sure that I put it in proper balance. I'll give an hour to this and an hour to that. Don't just do 2 straight hours of this. You have to constantly think about what you're doing because remember in Proverbs 10:4 it says, he becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand. Now, a slack hand don't just mean a hand that's not doing anything at all, but it's just not doing enough. It's just not doing the right thing. It's just not doing it the right way. It could be a mixture of those different things. But the hand of the diligent maketh rich, because the slack hand is doing something. But the diligent hand is doing so much more. It says, and let's go to Proverbs 21 and 25. Let's go there. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 25. The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. The desire of the slothful killeth him. You know the desire of the slothful, right? How many of you have wanted to stay in the bed so bad that you just say, you know what, I ain't going to work today? You didn't put your couple hours in. I'm not saying that you was so dog tired that you couldn't go. And like you literally had a physical reason why you couldn't go. I'm saying you just laid there and was like, forget it. The job ain't even worth it. That 5, 10 minutes, 2 hours in the bed was worth more than having a stable job to you. How many of you, that was you? Come on, don't lie. I know quite a few of you have slept in and just said, no, not today. So it says the desire of the slothful killeth him. Your desire to stay in that bed, it might have not killed you in that moment. Some of you might still be alive right now. But think about the effects that it had on you in that moment. And think about it from a point of view of benefit and value. All right, you went to bed last night, got your 6 to 8 hours, and you woke up and was like, I just don't feel like it. And you called in. Well, not much notice, by the way, because you just thought of it that morning. You didn't call in yesterday and say, I'm not coming tomorrow. Now your boss is like, God damn. As a Naya, not me, I would never do this, right? I would never do this. So, Sister Jenkins, let's put it on Sister Jenkins. And Brother Roscoe. Whichever one you are, become that person right now. You wonder why your job is not as glorious as you'd like it to be. Why someone else is getting the promotion above you. Even though you feel that you work harder than them. That you're smarter than them. That you're better than them. That you're more deserving than them. Well, one of the reasons may be is because you're less consistent than them. Less reliable than them. Yes, you work harder. Yes, you're better at the job, but you didn't show up that day. Now, years go by and you still in that same position, making that same minimum wage as, what is it? Inflation has already risen above your income. Now you don't have a place to live. You can't afford to live in the apartment that you've been in. You can't afford the expensive food because that's going up. You can't afford the expensive gas because that's going up. Now you see how it's beginning to slowly kill you, because when you look at the homeless, when you look at people who are in less fortunate situations, you'll look at them and judge them and say, well, go get a job. You don't want to just give them the dollar that they're begging for. But if they're anything like you, maybe they had a job, but because of their slothfulness, they no longer have it. It says the desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. Meaning, you really don't want to put forth the work. You begin to refuse to labor, and there's different ways to refuse. You don't have to literally say no and not do it at all. The refusal can be in your action, in your slow way of getting it done or not getting it done. Now they're looking at you like, see, I really need to get somebody else in here who's going to be more diligent in their hand to the plow, because this person is not fulfilling the job. It says, the desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. Now let's get a little bit more on that. Let's go to 1 Timothy 5 and 8. Before we get that, let's go to actual 2 Thessalonians 3 and 10. 2 Thessalonians 3 and 10. Now, as we get ourselves together and we examine ourselves whether we be in the faith, and we ask ourselves, is this me? Is this something I need to work on? That's what it's all about. Nobody should be listening to this and saying, he ain't talking about me. Because each one of us probably have a little bit of this in us. And regardless of how great we think we are, could we not be better? Is there not room for improvement? Meditate on that. So, 2 Thessalonians 3 and 10. For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. If you would not put your hands to the plow, if you would not be diligent in your doings, if you would not have that type of spirit about you that you were supposed to have, you didn't deserve to eat. If you were slothful, you don't deserve to eat. You see, that's what's wrong with a lot of us in American society. We got this mindset of, I deserve this, but we're not putting forth the work to deserve it. You know, they say that this is the land of opportunity, right? If you want it, you can go get it out here. To some extent, I think that's very true. To some extent, I don't, because I do think that there are a lot of barriers to opportunity. But when you got all these immigrants coming from other countries with nothing, and now they're millionaires, now they're billionaires, you got to understand that they came and put forth some work. It was enough work to get up and come in this direction. So it says, for we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. See, there are some people who are disorderly. Being disorderly means you're not working. And you occupy yourself with the wrong things. You're busy, but busy doing nothing of value. Busy doing something that you shouldn't be doing. And in the Bible, you're given so many examples of how you should do it. Like, when you think about Paul, he had the right and the authority to use money that was collected from the saints to help him. But being that he didn't want to be chargeable to the people, being that he wanted to be a great example to the people, he made sure that he put in his own work as a tent maker. But many of us, we just looking for the quick dollar, the quick fix. How do I get money without putting forth work? It doesn't exist. Not if you're trying to get rich. Not if you're trying to get away from the poverty. So it says in 2 Thessalonians, for even when we were with you, this we commanded, meaning it was commanded of you to get to work. And there's so many people that don't work. And I'm not just talking about employment work. I'm talking about spiritual work. Because the work of the Lord is important too, because that's your profession as well. To where you got so many other things that you're doing, but don't ever have time for the Lord. Don't ever have time to gain wisdom. Don't ever have time to build up a kingdom. Don't ever have time to affect positively your nation. Because we're good at affecting our nation negatively by being the epitome of the stereotypes, by sowing into another man's kingdom. 1 Timothy 5:8. But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he have denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. See, the providing is the work. You work to provide for your own being your family, but guess what? Israel, we're an extended family. And it's really important for us to understand that it's not just the one child that you have that needs your support, but your brother and your brother's family. They need your support too. And it's not that I'm saying that it's on you to pay for them, but it's on you to build the nation that you would be happy to have all of them in. And unless you just like being in a nation to where you feel singled out and by yourself. You know, me living in a suburban neighborhood, I don't interact with my neighbors that much. I got a multicultural aspect going here. I got multiple nations and nationalities of people, and none of them do I expect to be there for me in my time of need. But wouldn't it be great if I had brothers and sisters next to me and I wasn't worried to let my children play in their front yard? That if I ran out of food, that I could go borrow some next door? That if I needed a ride, they got me? But when we're so caught up in our own thing and we're not thinking about anybody else, we don't have anything to help nobody else because we spend it all on ourselves. and we didn't think to earn enough and save enough to spread and go around in our charitable fashion. See, sometimes charity, the little that you give spontaneous is cool, but sometimes maybe charity should be a thought out thing of, I want to be able to help others to this extent this year. So I'm going to plan and work toward it. If you're trying to increase your works. It says, but if any provide not for his own, especially of those of his house, he has denied the faith. Meaning, you're not a believer when you're not putting forth the work to provide for your own people. And it's worse than an infidel. I don't want to be that bad. I don't want to be worse than the great waster and the infidel. I got to put, when their powers combine, that's a pretty bad person to be dealing with. Okay, so let's go to Proverbs 24 and 30. We're going to do a lot of Proverbs today because that's that book of wisdom, I tell you. It says, I went by the field of the slothful and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. Now, what do y'all think y'all saw in the field? The vineyard of the slothful. Do you think you saw a great vineyard? I doubt it. But before I get to guessing and assuming, let me let God speak and every man be a liar. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns and nettles, and had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Oh my gosh. I go to the vineyard, and this is what I see. I don't see grapes and fruit. I see thorns and nettles and a wall that's broken down. Not well maintained, not cared for. It says, then I saw and considered it well, and looked upon it and received instruction. A wise man will look at that and say, that's not how I want to be. Yet a little sleep and a little slumber, and a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man. See, the slothful is the one that's too busy sleeping when he should have been taking care of his vineyard. See, vineyard has value. That's something that's highly coveted after. You got people killing people for vineyards in the Bible. People paying great prices for vineyards in the Bible. And you, the slothful, the sluggard, too busy sleeping, got a broken down wall, thorns and nettles all over the place. Now, I don't want to be that person. Because what I want to prosper. And that's what I know many of you say you want. Prosperity, right? You want that prosperity doctrine. See, this fly is getting on my nerves. you see, the devil come in many ways. See, he couldn't get in through the front door, so he sent a fly through the crack of the garage door. But anywho, I know it's really funny. That's why it's good to do live, right? So you get to see all the imperfections, all the distractions, but it is what it is. It's Midweek Meditations. And in case you didn't like this one, you can go look at another video that don't have a fly in it by catching up on midweekmeditations.com and all the previous lessons. So where were we? Before the fly quickly came and tried to take away the word. But because I'm a spiritual man, he couldn't take it. All right, so let's go to... I want to go back up to verse 30 real quick. It says, I went by the field of the slothful and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. The slothful and the man void of understanding are synonymous. See, a lot of people think that they're wise, but clearly they're not, because their slothfulness is a good indication that they're not. And I want you to just let that marinate. I'm not going to go further into that. You're not wise if you're slothful. Proverbs 20 and 13. Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. See, how many of y'all said, I just love sleep? I love sleep. I know sisters is doing it. Sisters got to get 10 hours of sleep minimum just to be a little more than terrible. You know, there's some sisters that fit that description. Not all of you. Some of you are definitely righteous, wise sisters that are definitely Proverbs 31 women. They get up early while it is yet dark. But there are some, I just love sleep. That's your great love. Between loving sleep and loving food, those are two of the most destructive things that our people do. Sleep too much and eat too much. And both of them just make you a bigger sluggard than you were the day before. It says, love not sleep. Don't do that. That's 5 to 10. Lest thou come to poverty. If you love sleep too much, please don't have dreams of being wealthy, rich, at the same time, because those two don't go hand in hand. Open thine eyes and get the crust out, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. See, you actually have to have your eyes open to get the satisfaction that you desire. And if your eyes are closed too much, you're not going to receive that satisfaction. It says, let's go to Proverbs 20:4. The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Therefore shall he beg in harvest and have nothing. See, the sluggard make excuses on why they not going to get the job done. Oh, it's cold outside. It's cold, so I can't get the work done. That's what our people do. We got all the excuses, and cold is one of the biggest ones. But yet, if cold was the excuse, America wouldn't be here today. Other nations don't use that as the excuse. You got people all up in Nova Scotia. They not making excuses. And it's cold. You got people in some of the coldest places in the world. And, you know I don't live in one of the coldest places in the world, but it does get cold enough to complain sometimes. But it says the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Remember it said they refuse to work? Here's one of the reasons why. Therefore shall they beg in the harvest. Remember, we talked about the homeless man, and you could be the very next one if you're not careful. They beg in the harvest. And guess what? Some of us don't have the ability to give. We know better not to give. And therefore, that's how you end up dead. As the scripture said, that this slackness, this slothfulness will kill you. Because they had nothing to eat. You were supposed to be working so that you could eat, but you didn't work, so you didn't eat. You was begging, and you got nothing. All this stuff keep going hand in hand, and I'm just trying to get my mind motivated to say, "Ooh, I don't want to be the brother begging. I don't want to be the brother that's letting my vineyard go to waste. I don't want to be the brother who's sleeping too much, and poverty is now coming upon me. I was doing okay. I might have not been rich, but I'm doing all right. But I could sure lose the little that I have." Let me see something here. I'm going to give y'all a few moments to hit the share button. Because maybe now you're encouraged to get off your lazy finger and tap it for me one time. And I'm going to look up a precept for you while I do it. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 18. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 18. By much slothfulness the building decayeth. The building. The whole building falling apart, just like that wall in the building. in the vineyard, excuse me, the building decayeth, and through idleness of hands the house droppeth through. See, some of y'all living good right now. You got a nice house. For you sisters, you might have moved in with a brother as you got married, or you brothers, maybe you moved in with a sister. But whenever y'all got together, you found out that someone wasn't willing to maintain the house. And now the way the house looked when it was new or new to you is not how it looks after a couple years. Stuff falling apart, you have not fixed it. And half the time the stuff falling apart, not because it just falls apart, but just the way that you interacted with it in your slothful manner aided to its destruction. It says, by much slothfulness. See, there's a time and a place where you can have a little lazy day. But if that's your thing and that's your habit and that's who you are, your building will decay. Through idleness of hands, the house droppeth. Remember, we can't get the laborers to work with their hands, is what the scripture was saying. Even though we commanded you that if you don't work, you don't eat, there's many that's walking disorderly. And that's why the house is dropping through. And now you want a donation. Now you want somebody to help you. Now I'm begging, please help me. But you let it fall through. You're the great waster. Your brother's name is Slothful. No, you might be Slothful Great Waster. Is maybe your full name. I don't know. But we have to examine these things to make sure that we're not these people. Because we're saying that we want to do better when we come into this knowledge. We're saying that we want change in our life. Okay, Lord, this Bible should not be entertainment. It may be entertaining at times, but it's not for entertainment that this video is up. I'm sorry, I'm not MTV. I'm not Comedy Central. I'm not, hot new hip hop or any of that. I'm reading from the Bible, this book of life. Encouraging you to be better about reading the Bible for yourself. To get yourself together. So it says, by much slothfulness, the building decayeth. Now let's go up to verse 16 real quick. It says, woe to thee, O land, when thy king is a child and the prince eat in the morning, and thy prince eat in the morning. Blessed art thou, O land, when the king is the son of the nobles, and thy princes eat in due season for strength and not for drunkenness. By much slothfulness the building decayeth, and through idleness of hand the house droppeth through. So look at the context here, and it may be that we're talking about people who are great in authority and power and riches that could be the ones that are being spoken about here. You've seen some great people, millionaires, maybe billionaires, go bankrupt, broke. And whether you ever become that millionaire, whether you were that millionaire, whether you are that millionaire, if there's anything that you've learned in all your time of amassing this money or not, it better be that slothfulness didn't help. It better be that idleness was not the reason why you made it to the top, and it's probably the reason why you're not at the top right now. When we really examine the scriptures and see our forefathers in them, David was putting in work. That's why he had a kingdom the way that he did. He didn't sit back and dream about the Philistines getting their behind whooped. He went out and made it happen. The opportunity that he was given to even get in front of King Saul was because he was doing his job. His dad told him to go and take the provisions to your brothers. He could have went in the woods and, just pulled up on the side and took a nap, relaxed. They'll get it when they get it. They at war. They don't need nothing. Nah, he went out there and made it happen. And then when he saw an opportunity, he seized the opportunity because he was prepared for the opportunity. Proverbs 12 and 24. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule. See, David was a ruler because he was diligent in his doings. But the slothful shall be under tribute. See, notice how David was in rulership, but you and I, we in captivity. Clearly, as a nation of people, we're slothful because we under tribute. I don't know about y'all, but I'm kind of waiting on my W-2s to come so I can get my tax return for the tribute that I've been paying all year. That means that I better check myself on my slothfulness because I'm under tribute. And maybe I think that I'm diligent, but I'm under tribute, so I better examine it. I'm not bearing rule right now, so I better examine it. I'm barely ruling this address that I'm living at. I'm ruling it, though. I'm ruling it. Barely, because I got to pay the taxes on it. I got to pay tribute on it. I don't want them to come take it from me and say, oh, you thought you ran something, huh? You thought you was ruling it, huh? Just let me have my little bit of mini rulership, please. Let me pretend. It says, the hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Sister Jenkins, Brother Roscoe, you're under tribute. Don't lie to yourself. Don't act like you don't know. Ask Wesley. He didn't pay his taxes. They got him. It says, heaviness in the heart of a man maketh it stoop, but a good work maketh it glad. A good what? A good work. When you're doing work, your heart will be glad. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. See, if you're righteous, you'll be in an excellent fashion more than your neighbor. And unfortunately, if you got slothful friends, they're going to seduce you to be slothful as well. You better get around people who are doing something and away from people who are not. It says, the slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious. See, the slothful man went out and hunted. He went hunting, actually got something, and then didn't even roast it. Why did you even waste your time going to the hunt and then not actually catch anything? I mean, not actually cook anything. You really wasn't serious about the work. You weren't a wise man, clearly. You was a slothful man. Mm-hmm. You weren't the diligent man. So I bring this up to show you that don't confuse the fact that you did something with the fact that it's not enough. Just because you did a little bit of work don't mean you need credit. This man went and hunt, but didn't even roast his kill. So what's the credit that should be given? Oh, well, good job at just killing the animal. But we still hungry. Remember, if you don't work, you don't eat. Well, he's not eating because he didn't roast his food. The scriptures is really, they work so well together. Every verse that I'm pulling ends up making you think, oh, wait a minute. That goes right back to what we just talked about. So, midweek meditations, right? You're supposed to be meditating on these verses and saying, how do they apply to me in my life right now? Tonight I could change. I could be different. But some of us are too lazy and slothful and idle to get the 5 questions done from the Bible trivia. Somebody don't want to, double tap on the image of the verse of the day. But shout out to the people who are doing it, because all praises. At least 3 of us gonna maybe get to the kingdom. Nah, it's gonna be more, right? It's gonna be more than 3. I want to encourage each of you to just sit back and really meditate on these scriptures and ask yourself, can you do better? Let's just not start off with the whole you a slothful sluggard that's gonna die. Let's back off a little bit and just say, can I do better? Could I be more diligent? Do I want more for myself? If so, am I willing to go get it? Do I love sleep too much that all that I do have is going to go away? Ask yourself these questions. Meditate on these things. Talk to your spouse about it. But don't be so caught up in, what's the dragon in Revelation, but you too lazy to even go do the reading for yourself that someone else had to figure it out for you. If you really want to know these things, then maybe you should put forth some work and some effort and not wait for someone to put a video up for you. And see, that's the funny thing about Midweek Meditations. I encourage you to read for yourself, even though you're right here with me now, watching my video. That's not what it's about. What it's about is, are you getting something to make yourself better? Are we encouraging people to read the Bible for themselves? Many of you have had a Bible 10, 20 years. You probably still got the one that you got from high school graduation time, and it's fresh and crispy. I encourage you to wear that thing out. I encourage you to make your Bible fall apart in the next 12 months. If you're really good, it only takes 3 to 6. But I'll give you 12 because you might be still working on your love for sleep. So that's Midweek Meditations for today. Don't be lazy. But I gotta see who's still online with us right now. Who we got? We got about a few lazy people. Hadassah, Gabrielle, Yamila, okay. Elijah. Amana, Dr. Huz, Marco, Kareemeth. Brother Reddy is in the building. Shebrew, gift from God. Hey, all praises for y'all joining in today. Facebook was not down. I know I just saw this a little late, Shebrew, swag, but Facebook was not down. It's up. And I'll check on it. But if you go to midweekmeditations.com, the video will be there for the replay in case you need to check it out again. And I encourage you to check it out again because guess what? That's your opportunity to further meditate on these scriptures. So shout out to the brothers, Eleazar. Shout out to the sisters. Shout out to those of you who are in righteousness and not in wickedness on a day like this. You know what I mean. I'm not even going to mention it. Check out midweekmeditations.com/donations if you want to support the movement. Check out the Bible trivia. Check out the daily verses. Check out the blog. Check it all out. And that's the kind of thing that can be the difference maker in your life. So with that, we say shalom.